Every AFL team's biggest upset from the year 2000 all the way to 2023. Let's kick it off in 2000 where the Bulldogs beat the Bombers 92-81 at the Colonial Stadium in round 23 of the millennial season. This game is often referred to as the Super Flood game. The Bombers went into this match having won the first 20 games of the home and away season. They needed only 5 more wins to complete the league's first ever perfect season. However, in a major upset, we saw a tactic that has never been seen before, where the Western Bulldogs employed a strong zoned flooding defence to ensure they won that match by 11 points. It was Essendon's first and only defeat of the 2000 calendar year, as they also went on to win the premiership. In 2001, Hawthorn, who were 12-5 at the time, coughed up a 40-point lead to Fremantle, who were 0-17, sitting bottom of the table. Hawthorn went on to narrowly lose a preliminary final to the Bombers that season, while Fremantle claimed their only ever club wooden spoon. That was one of the Dockers' only 2 wins that season, and it provided a major shock for the rest of the league. In 2002, Collingwood had reached the finals for the first time since 1994. They'd finished 4th on the ladder with a 13-9 record, and not much was expected of them in the final month of the footy season. However, the Magpies upset minor premiers Port Adelaide by 13 points in the dramatic qualifying final at AAMI Stadium. In 2003, Geelong beat Port Adelaide 70-69 at Skilled Stadium. Now, even with this game being at Kardinia Park, Geelong went in as underdogs against a rampant Port Adelaide outfit. Power was sitting first, having lost only 1 game for the season, while the Cats were sat in the bottom 3. A major upset was looming as Geelong led by 20 points early in the 4th quarter, and the Power would fight back to hit the front with just over a minute left on the clock. Enter Ben Graham.
Sanderson goes deep. The breeze carries it to 55. Graham! Oh, he could nearly kick it from here. Scarlett leading forward. Graham! Scarlett! And Mopes through! Geelong in front!
In 2004, the Bulldogs and the Saints played off at the MCG, which saw the Bulldogs win by 23 points. An unfathomable upset that saw the bottom 4 Bulldogs scalp the premiership favourites, and ladder leaguers St Kilda left the rest of the league in disarray. A shocked AFL world saw Rowan Smith kick 4 and Scott West rack up 40 disposals. In 2005, the Pies defeated the Eagles 118-95 at the MCG. West Coast were coming into this game 8-0. The Pies were coming into this game 1-7 and bottom of the AFL ladder. Collingwood were down to the Eagles at 3/4 time, but in the last quarter they kicked an unfathomable 7-2 to bring the victory home by 23 points. To put an exclamation mark on how ridiculous that win was for the Pies, earlier that season they'd lost to Richmond by 35, the Bulldogs by 32, the Saints by 38, and the Dockers by 112. In 2006, the Tigers narrowly beat the Crows by 3 points at the Telstra Dome. Terry Wallace somehow pulled the 11th place Tigers with a percentage of only 68 over the line against the top of the table Adelaide Crows. Richmond were paying $13 with the bookies pre-game, and after Richmond received a 118-point loss to Sydney the week prior, this left the AFL world in shock. In 2007, in one of the most underrated upsets in AFL history, the Brisbane Lions went over to Perth and beat the West Coast Eagles 91-64 at Subiaco Oval. This was easily the biggest upset of the 2007 AFL season. The Brisbane Lions were coming off a 7-match streak without a win, and ahead of them was the toughest assignment in the competition: West Coast in Perth. They were travelling to take on the reigning premiers at Subiaco Oval in what looks like an unwinnable game. Considering that the Lions, even throughout their premiership dynasty in 01-02-03, found the Eagles a really tough team to beat in Perth. No one gave the Lions a chance. They were paying $9.50 before the game. It looks like this could only go one way. But what transpired was a massive surprise, and it went down as one of the greatest matches in Brisbane's club history. In 2008, the Pies absolutely demolished the Cats 134-48 at the MCG. This was Geelong's only loss of the home and away season, in which it was to Collingwood by 86 points. Now, with it being their only loss of the season, with the loss being so big, this goes down in the record books as the highest average losing margin in a season in VFL AFL history. In 2009, the Bombers defeated St Kilda by 2 points, 110-108, at Etihad Stadium. The Saints were on a 19-game winning streak under third-year coach Ross Lyon. The Bombers, on the other hand, were an outside chance for the top 8, but were still getting grips to life without Kevin Sheedy, who ended his 27-year tenure at the Dons the year prior. Both teams went toe-to-toe in this feisty affair, with more belief growing that Essendon could pull off the unthinkable upset. The siren sounded and Essendon were up by 2 points, but Nick Riewoldt had the chance to be the Saint for St Kilda and win the match after the siren.
He cannot play on. Riewoldt, 35 metres out to keep the Bombers out of the 8 and to win the game for the Saints. He's missed. Riewoldt has missed. Look at the Bomber fans!
The Bombers ended up finishing 8th, losing to Adelaide by 94 points in an elimination final, while St Kilda narrowly lost to the Cats in the grand final. In 2010, the Crows beat the Cats by 11 points at Amy Stadium. 12th placed Adelaide had a Friday night date with the reigning premiers Geelong in West Adelaide, and 41,000 spectators saw something they'll never forget: an incredible 11-point upset win against eventual premiers Geelong. In 2011, the Bombers narrowly beat the Cats by 4 points at Etihad Stadium. The Cats were up 27-1 at quarter time. The Bombers had lost 4 of their best 22 players and were sitting 8th, while Geelong were sitting 1st. And this game ended up snapping the Cats' 13-game win streak. In 2012, the D's defeated the Bombers by 6 points at the MCG. Pre-game, Essendon was sitting 4th, Melbourne was sitting 16th. Only in front of brand new expansion sides Gold Coast and GWS. The odds for this game were $12 to 1 in the Bombers' favour, but on a wet, rainy Saturday night, Mark Neild's Melbourne side picked up their first win of the season and only 1 of 5 in Neild's tenure at the Demons. In 2013, Fremantle defeated Geelong at Simmons Stadium 87-72 in one of the most famous finals matches in history. Over the previous 8 seasons leading up to this game, Geelong's winning percentage at Kardinia Park was approaching 90%, which is just absurd. There was controversy leading up to this game whether this game should be allowed to be played in Geelong. It was the first ever finals to be played in Geelong, and with it being a smaller side such as Fremantle, the AFL allowed it, which caused absolute mayhem in the Fremantle fan base. The game was a tug, it was neck and neck. No one was really expecting the Dockers to pull off the unthinkable. And then comes Stephen Hill to seal the game.
It's Fremantle's game to lose here. Sander lands the big fist. Oh, look at that Hill. Somehow off the interchange bench and into his hands. Maybe it's Fremantle's day. Walters is on. Hill keeps going. This to send them into a home preliminary final for the first time in their history. Freo are at home.
In 2014 at Etihad Stadium, the Saints went out and thrashed the Dockers by 58 points. The Dockers put out their full strength 22 bar Aaron Sandilands and Hagan Ballantyne, while the Saints lost 2 key players in Seb Ross and Tom Hickey. The Dockers had just come off a grand final appearance and were sitting in 4th spot with the top 4 race heating up to end 2014, while St Kilda was stuck dead last in 18th. The Saints had just come off a 59-point loss to North Melbourne, an 87-point loss to Carlton, and a 44-point loss to Richmond, with all 3 of those games being at their home ground, Etihad Stadium. The Saints faced back up at the Docklands for a challenge against the formidable Ross Lyon coached Dockers, in which this game looked all but destined to be a breeze for Freo, but the rest was history. In 2015, Port Adelaide faced Hawthorn at Etihad Stadium and they beat them by 22 points. This was the 3rd year of Hawthorn's three-peat and no one really gave the Power a chance against the formidable Hawks outfit. Hawthorn was sitting 3rd before the start of round 21 of the 2015 AFL season, behind only Fremantle and West Coast. They were facing a 10th placed and lackluster looking Port Adelaide side. The Power's odds were $10 to 1. That was until Chad Wingard kicked 4, while Robbie and Sam Gray picked up 34 touches each, helping Port Adelaide over the line to a 22-point upset victory. In 2016, Essendon defeated Melbourne by 13 points at the MCG. Having a depleted list due to the supplement saga, Essendon were predicted by some to go winless in 2016. Smashed by the Gold Coast Suns by 61 points in round 1, a similar fate was expected in their round 2 clash against Melbourne. Surprisingly, the Bombers led at every change and recorded an upset 13-point point win, one of only 3 wins for that season. In 2017, North Melbourne obliterated Adelaide at Blundstone Arena 145-86. Adelaide was soaring, sitting top of the table 6-0. North was struggling in 17th after losing the first 5 games of the year and opening the account the week before with a win against Gold Coast. The game was down in Tassie and North absolutely blitzed the Crows, scoring 64-0 in the first quarter. And to make it even crazier, the Crows the week before beat eventual premiers and the then undefeated Richmond Tigers by 76 points. In 2018, Gold Coast defeated Sydney 88-64 at the SCG. The story of this game were Sydney 2 years before made the grand final, and this was just completely unexpected at the SCG. In 2019, Hawthorn went over to West Coast and defeated them 105-67 at Optus Stadium. Hawthorn was sitting 9th, West Coast was sitting 3rd, and the Hawks' task to play finals was to come to the most formidable task in football: Optus Stadium and the West Coast Eagles. The Hawks, in an unlikely manner, stood up massively, with Tim O'Brien kicking a career-high 4 goals, and the win over the Eagles came by 38 points. However, it wasn't quite enough to propel Hawthorn into the top 8, with the Eagles finishing their season with a semi-final loss to Geelong. In 2020, Gold Coast winning its first game since round 4 2019, while breaking a 19-game losing streak against one of the biggest and best sides in the country, is one of only many crazy things to happen in this game. A gap of 2 months taken in between round 1 and round 2 already made this situation strange, as the Eagles travelled to their Queensland COVID bubble and took on the Suns at Metricon Stadium in front of 0 people. And then something incredible happened. In his second game of AFL football, Sir Matthew Rowell dominated with 26 touches and a goal in 16 minutes short and quarters to steer his young Suns side to glory against a devastated West Coast outfit. In 2021, the Crows were coming off a horrid wooden spoon campaign under Matthew Nicks, and they started off the year against reigning grand finalists, the Geelong Cats. And this round 1 fixture looked to be going only one way. Except it didn't. It went the other way. The Crows somehow beat the Cats by 12 points at the Adelaide Oval, 103-91. In 2022, the West Coast Eagles defeated Collingwood 87-74 at Marvel Stadium. I remember where I was when this game happened. It was on, I believe it was Saturday Arvo. On the Saturday night, Freo were playing the Giants at Optus Stadium. I was in Adelaide and I was watching this in my hotel room before the Dockers game started. And I was praying that the Eagles didn't get their job done, but they somehow did. Also in this game, 4th ever game of AFL football, Nick Dacos racked up a casual 32 disposals. Not bad. This is about the Eagles though. Willie Rioli and Josh Kennedy kicked 3 goals each, while the Eagles put out a lineup involving Zach Langdon, Jackson Nelson, Patrick Naish. It was a really young and inexperienced side due to the COVID protocols, and nobody could quite believe what they were seeing. Moving back to the Eagles in 2023, they also defeated the Western Bulldogs at Marvel Stadium 92-85. I also remember where I was for this game. I was on the bus on the way to Optus Stadium to watch the Dockers lose to the Power, while watching the Eagles win a game of football. This was their second win of the season, finishing the year with 2 wins. Jamie Cripps came up big with 5 goals. Oscar Allen kicked 3 of his own. The Eagles were playing rookies galore, as they had been throughout the entirety of the 2023 campaign, and to see this doggy side lose was quite simply extraordinary. You had a midfield with Bailey Williams, Luke Edwards and Elijah Hewitt beating Tim English, Adam Treloar and Marcus Bontempelli. If I missed any upsets in this video, let me know down in the comments. If you did enjoy, please hit that like button and subscribe, and I will see you all next time. Cheers.